Most people think being smart means knowing more facts, having better arguments, or winning debates. But that belief is exactly why most people stay average without ever realizing it. The real difference between the top 1% and everyone else has nothing to do with IQ, memory, or education. It often comes down to one simple ability that almost no one ever learns to use, one that will make you smarter than 99% of people. By the end of this video, you will know exactly why it works and when to actually use it. So it actually gives you an edge instead of just making you sound smart. Most people live inside their reactions. When something happens, emotions take over immediately and completely. A comment feels personal. A setback feels discouraging. A delay feels frustrating. There's no pause and no reflection, just an automatic response that feels justified in the moment. As a result, decisions are driven by impulse rather than clarity, and patterns repeat themselves over and over again. Truly smart people operate differently. They use a trick that changes everything. They've learned how to create space between what happens and how they respond. That space is where intelligence actually shows up. And very few people ever learn how to use it deliberately. Here's the simple trick they use before reacting to anything. Smart people quietly ask themselves one question: what's actually going on here? Nothing dramatic, nothing philosophical, just that one simple question. But the moment it's asked, control shifts. You stop being pulled by the situation and start observing it instead. And observation is where real thinking begins. It's the difference between being inside the storm and watching it from the outside. Most people skip this step entirely. They assume, judge, and rush to conclusions because it feels efficient. If someone disagrees with them, they label that person as wrong. If something goes wrong, they turn it into a personal failure. Their first emotional response feels like the truth, so it never gets questioned. Smart people slow the moment down. They step back mentally and examine what's influencing the situation, what patterns are appearing, and what information they might be missing. That brief pause alone puts them ahead of almost everyone, even if nothing else changes. You can see this clearly in arguments. Most people treat disagreements like battles that need to be won. They interrupt, defend themselves, and raise their voice without noticing how emotional they've become. Once ego takes over, clarity disappears. Smart people don't get pulled into that spiral. They observe the dynamic instead of reacting to it. They pay attention to tone, motivation, and emotional signals. Instead of attacking, they ask questions like, "What made you think that?" Or, "What outcome are you actually hoping for?" Because they stay calm, the other person lowers their guard, and the conversation shifts. Often people begin rethinking their own position without being pushed. This way of thinking applies everywhere, not just in conversations. At work, in relationships, and especially under stress, the same pattern shows up. When something goes wrong, most people internalize it immediately. They blame themselves, panic, or assume the worst-case scenario. Smart people zoom out. They treat the situation like information rather than a verdict about who they are. They look for causes, controllable factors, and small adjustments they can make next time. Because they don't personalize setbacks, they learn faster and recover quicker. The reason this works is simple. Most people think in isolated moments. One bad day feels like failure. One mistake feels defining. One rejection feels final. Smart people think in systems. They understand that outcomes are usually the result of patterns, habits, and inputs over time. Instead of reacting emotionally to a single event, they analyze what led to it. When you see the system clearly, you can change it intentionally. There's also a biological reason most people struggle with this. Your brain is designed to conserve energy, and deep thinking requires effort. Reacting is easy, which is why people follow their gut and repeat the same mistakes. It feels natural, but natural isn't the same as effective. Smart people interrupt autopilot on purpose. They challenge their first thought and ask whether another explanation might exist. Those questions feel uncomfortable at first, which is exactly why they work. Discomfort is often a sign that real thinking is happening. Silence plays an important role here as well. Many people are uncomfortable with silence, so they rush to fill quiet moments with words or distractions. Smart people use silence deliberately. They pause before speaking, listen without planning their response, and allow conversations to unfold naturally. Silence creates space to think, and it naturally draws attention. The person who reacts the least often has the most control over the direction of the moment. This becomes especially powerful under pressure. In traffic, meetings, or tense conversations, emotions tend to spike and narrow your thinking. Smart people notice that physical reaction and reset themselves. A slow breath, a brief pause, or a shift in focus is often enough. That small reset restores choice, and choice is what separates reacting from responding. It's also what prevents regret later. Listening is another skill that fits into this pattern. Most people are only half present in conversations, waiting for their turn to speak or thinking about something else entirely. Smart people listen fully. They pay attention to what's being said, how it's being said, and what's left unsaid. They ask follow-up questions to understand, not to impress. This builds trust quickly and often reveals information others miss, simply because most people aren't paying close attention. Over time, this approach compounds. Two people can face the same challenges, resources, and starting point. One reacts emotionally and stays stuck in familiar patterns. The other observes, adjusts, and keeps moving forward. The difference isn't obvious at first, but over months and years it becomes massive. Not because of talent or luck, but because of clearer thinking applied consistently. Curiosity keeps this process alive. Smart people don't assume they already know enough. They stay open, notice details, and explore things that don't immediately make sense. Instead of ignoring those moments, they investigate them. Curiosity keeps the mind flexible and prevents stagnation, allowing new ideas and better decisions to emerge over time. This isn't about superiority or proving anything to anyone. It's about reclaiming control over your own mind. Most people are driven by habits, emotions, and their environment without realizing it. Smart people step outside that loop and work with it consciously. That's why life often feels easier for them, not because they face fewer problems, but because they handle them differently. Here's the truth most people never hear. You don't need to become louder, faster, or more confident. You don't need to read hundreds of books or win every debate. You need to create space before you react. That's the trick. That's the edge. And that's what makes you smarter than 99% of people. For the next week, practice this deliberately. When something triggers you, pause and ask, what's actually going on here? Don't rush to answer, just observe. Use this in conversations, setbacks, and emotional moments. At first, it will feel unnatural, which means you're stepping out of autopilot and into awareness. But over time, you will reap the benefits and never return to the chaos. Most people won't do this. They'll keep reacting, assuming and repeating the same patterns. But if you build this habit, something changes. You start seeing things others miss, staying calm when others panic, and making better decisions because you're thinking instead of reacting. People notice not because you're trying to stand out, but because clarity naturally does. I hope you find value in this and can use it to level up, or send this to someone who could. If this video made you think differently, don't let it fade. Apply it. Don't forget to subscribe and keep watching other videos from the Boss Mindset. Bye for now.